Red and blue lights washed across our porch like slow waves, and I stood there in socks with a wet dish towel, thinking, how did a 5-inch flag, a porch light, and 2 pumpkins turn into 3 cruisers? And the HOA president parked at the end of the street like a queen in a golf cart. The tall officer said, "Just step back. We've had multiple complaints." And then his radio cracked loud enough to make the cicadas hush. Unit 12 status check. "Sheriff Parker, do you copy?" And the whole block felt it tilt like the truth had been sitting in a chair and finally stood up. "I'm Eli, my wife is Nora. We moved to Maple Ridge for small things. You can hold with both hands. A porch swing, a straight mailbox, neighbors, who wave banana bread that gets returned as a casserole. And at first, it was that kids chasing chalk rainbows, Mr. Lee next door telling us where the good plums grow. The HOA brochure saying community. And standards like a promise. Standards didn't scare me. I mow in straight lines for fun. You know what I mean. The first friendly reminder hit like a pop quiz at 6 a.m. Our tiny mailbox flag was a non-compliant, patriotic accessory. The President Marla Kent stood there with a clipboard and said, "A unified aesthetic prevents property value. Decay. Decay over a pen-sized flag." I moved it to a ceramic pot, we smiled. Small fires. Small water, right? Then came the garden sign. "Take 1 share, 1. Suddenly, it was solicitation-adjacent messaging, inviting non-resident foot traffic. I didn't even know what half those words were doing in the same sentence. We moved the sign to the backyard next. It was excessive porch decor. Turns out 2 pumpkins in September is a crime, one allowed before October. Or it's $75, and a hearing plus a fine, because the recycling lid flipped in a wind gust, and a stranger with a clipboard took a photo like it was Watergate. The clubhouse hearing tasted like old coffee, and peppermint chalk laws read out like bedtime stories for people who don't sleep. Nora kept her hands open. Voice easy. Talk before fines. We want to be good neighbors. Marla's pen clicked like a woodpecker, and she wrote cooperative transport on the minutes, which sounded like a polite way to say, "We'll send cops to escort you to the clubhouse." And yeah, I laughed. And yeah, that didn't help. A week later, she rolled up with 2 board members and said, "Final notice, compliance walkthrough at 6 p.m. If you refuse, we'll request cooperative transport, Nora." Steady as ever offered pizza night on our lawn. Neighbors meeting neighbors. No fines, just faces. Marla's mouth went ruler straight. Process is the processes then. At 6, the cruisers turned the corner. Lights painting our house, and my wife stepped out in jeans and garden shoes, even voice evening officers. "What's the emergency?" They said an HOA complaint planned transport to the clubhouse, and the radio said her title out loud, like a secret on a loudspeaker. "Sheriff Parker. Do you copy?" the older officer's jaw. Set, he checked with dispatch, then told his partner, "Stand down. Non-custodial, clear the street." Marla's golf cart hummed away a little victory, drifting behind it like exhaust. You'd think that's where it ends, but you know better. The next afternoon. A white pickup with a flatbed and Blackstone compliance services on the door. Parked at our curb, a guy in a black polo went straight for our backyard gate with bolt cutters. Like the lock had insulted his mother. Nora said, "Hold up. Checks are allowed, confiscation's not." He squeezed metal. Bit metal, and right then, a tow truck nosed our driveway. The driver hollered, "Which vehicle's the hook? I got a 60-minute tag." Immediate tow. Nora walked to his window and tapped the official paper. That ordinance number doesn't exist, and our truck is in our driveway. You hook it, that's theft. The driver remembered. His mama raised him to tell, right from stupid. He backed out. The bolt cutter guy let go. Neighbors cracked their doors like flowers turning to light. Then the sky bruised, and the weather app screamed severe storm. We went basement mode, Nora counting breaths with the twins across the street. When the roar eased, we stepped out into that bad kind of quiet and heard a hiss by the clubhouse. Nora's head tilted gas, she said, and she pointed the fire captain to an auxiliary. Shut off, half hidden in vines, half turned left. He leaned into it. The hiss fell like a dimmer switch. The captain nodded to Nafjud. Kindness. Spread extension, cords crossed the street like handshakes. But the HOA sent a mass email. Anyway, temporary enhanced compliance zone confiscation upon review. My ears went hot at 6:01. The Harmony team arrived like a parade. Nobody asked for cones, tubs, bolt cutters, and the man snapped our gate lock clean. Nora's voice went from pillow to plank. You're on camera. This is unlawful entry. Step back. He hesitated. And two things hit at once. A news van turned the corner, and the older officer rolled up. Hands off the cutters, he said. Body cam chiming. The crowd breathed again. The bolt cutters dropped. That happened. That night, the clubhouse office coughed smoke. Someone tried to cook paperwork in a trash can and ran with a plastic tote. Detective Renee Ortiz showed up with calm eyes and a bag for fingerprints. We'll find him, she said, and I believed her the next morning. Internal Affairs sat on our couch, polite, careful holding a thin envelope that meant Nora was on paid leave, while they reviewed a complaint that she used her position to influence a private matter. Nora gave them the line she lives by. Kindness, first. Clarity, second. Authority, last off of duty. Didn't take command, asked for help, but they took her binder. Left the quiet kind of mad you can taste. On the courthouse steps, the HOA lawyer Grant Ellery tried to make sheriff sound like a curse. Before we could answer, the older officer tipped his hat. Small, they'd picked up a square-jawed man near the drainage path, tote full of HOA files. Pepper spray in his pocket. We were halfway to relief when sirens screamed toward our house, and the radio said the words that turn your spine to glass. Armed subject, hostages, shots fired our address. It was swatting. And I hate that word, and now the sergeant did it right. Slow. Methodical, no. Hero kicks through the slice of our broken gate. A low shape slid. A big dog muscle. And fear, a collar so tight it hurt to look at, and a kid with a phone on a stick whispered, "We're live," like he was calling a game. Nora stayed in the car. On leave, hands on the wheel and still through a rope with her voice. "Sit," she called, clean command. The older officer echoed, "Sit." The hesitation bought a breath less lethal. Thwumped a snare, looped easy, buddy, the handler whispered. The collar tag. Said Blackstone Facilities, Maple Avenue. Not a stray. Not an accident. The street unclenched. The hearing felt like the first honest conversation in months. The judge looked like a man who can get mustard out of a tie. Ellery asked for an injunction to strip non-approved items. Keep us from contacting the board, and muzzle any so-called influence. The judge asked if the president was present while I stood in no sunglasses. A storm scrape on her arm, and said it plain. We went too far. We hired a company. We didn't vet. They cut a lock. They brought pepper spray near children. Our office was broken into. a man tied to that company, was arrested. I moved to withdraw the injunction. Ellery popped like a toaster. Objection. No vote. The judge held up one finger and turned to Nora. Would you like to speak? And she didn't perform. She just said, we want rules that protect people, not punish pumpkins. Talk before. Give fines, pause third-party enforcement until licenses and practices are reviewed. Give a 30-day grace period. For minor non-safety stuff. We want to be neighbors again. The judge wiped his glasses. Looked at our row, Mr. Lee holding an old photo of Watermelon Summers, the twins' feet not reaching the floor, Marla's shaking hands, and decided injunction denied temporary restraining order against the HOA's outside compliance for now 30-day grace period. A mediator to write talk before fines, and a note to Internal Affairs acknowledging Nora's off-duty status and today's testimony. Their lane is theirs. His is this. The gavel hit like clean thunder outside. Licensing confirmed Blackstone's security license, suspended pending investigation. Their crew sagged by their SUVs like guys who expected a promotion and got a parking escort instead. That night, in a packed special meeting, emotion whispered, then said out loud. Marla set down her clipboard and keys and said, I lost the plot. I forgot people come before rules. She resigned without a speech, just a room finally breathing. We peeled the orange, do not use sticker off our post and stuck it to Nora's What We Love poster, so the scar could turn into a story. Detective Ortiz texted a picture of the tote on an evidence table, like birds back in a nest. Neighbors showed up to pizza night with casseroles and folding chairs. The fire captain set a box fan on the table and said, For hot takes. We groaned like a choir and kept laughing anyway. And Marla came with a Tupperware of cut watermelon, asked if she could tape chairs open for public comment first. Nora handed her blue painter's tape and said, You can. That's how we start. I wish I could tell you every loose end tied itself neat. Internal Affairs still wants paperwork and process. The gate still carries a bite mark from the bolt cutters. The HOA Facebook still hosts a few warriors with keyboards and not much front porch energy, but the block feels different. Kids draw hearts in chalk without looking over their shoulders. Mrs. Patel leaves lemonade like a treaty. You can taste officers drive by with windows down and a wave, and when the porch light clicks on, that small circle of gold feels like enough for one night. So tell me straight, did we do right by not leading with the badge, even when people assumed it was the whole story? Where's the line between rules that keep a street beautiful and rules that grind people down until they forget how to be neighbors? You ever seen an HOA save a block or sink one, or both drop your... Take your story, You won't believe what my board did say where you're watching from, and if talk before fines would change anything on your street, and if you think I'm dead wrong, say why. I'll be on the porch reading.